multi-select drop-down. So in the previous sessions we had seen text area, text field and checkboxes. So we'll begin with multi-select drop-down. So like multi-select drop-down is just like a normal drop-down, but here we have some extra features which we can use. So let me just quickly show you. It's pretty simple. Just wanted to demonstrate you this, so you can use this. So let me just give some property ID to this multi-select drop-down. So let me write multi-select drop down here, just a label, and in this data source value, so this is like a place where we can input our values. So if you want to hard code any values here, we can put the values here. So let me put some values here. Maybe I'm just giving some sports name so that we can show in the drop down. So and okay, so here URL and data reference key. So we'll see this in the upcoming videos, but for demonstrating the multi-select drop-down, I'm just giving this sample values. And here if you click on save and close, this is how the multi-select drop-down looks. And if you preview this, you can see that a normal drop-down, not specific to multi-select, but a normal drop-down, we can see any value we can select, and this we can use. But the additional feature of multi-select drop-down is here we get this option is allow multiple selection. So if you toggle on this button and save, so here you will be able to select multiple values from this drop-down. So here if you click on this, so this is the first value which is selected, this is the second and the third value as well. So in the same way we can delete the values as well from this. And the additional feature of multi-select drop-down is here we have a feature to show the clear button as well. So if I toggle on this button, save and close, so here we will be able to see the clear button. So with the help of it, we would be able to clear all the values that we have selected. So here if you see, if I click on this clear button, all the values are getting removed, or we can say deleted from that selected thing. So yeah, this is about the multi-select drop down. And here we have few other features as well, which are like pretty similar to the other components feature, which is read only view, disable user input, hide field. So this is pretty simple, I will not explain again, but yeah, this is again that same thing. And here we can see hide chevron. So if you click on this, save and close and save this module, so with this whatever that this kind of arrow we are able to see, right? So that won't be visible. So if you see now, the arrow is not visible. So this is what we called as hide chevron toggle button on drop down, where we can hard code the values and this values data source type. So if you see here data source type, so here we have a first option is values, where we can hard code the values. The second option is URL. So let's suppose we are getting any data from API, so that URL is something we can use here, and from that response JSON whatever we have got, we can configure the values. So this we will see in upcoming sessions, but the next is like data reference key that we are going to see. So here let me just delete this, let me just make it clean. Okay, so what is meant by data reference key? I mean add feature. So let's suppose we add a data table. Okay, so here in the data and event processing we have a data table which is like used to store a data in a tabular format. So let me just give some names here in this data table. So just like a Excel sheet, right, a spreadsheet where we maintain a data. So let's suppose I want to maintain a data of cities. So here I can put the values here as city values. So okay, let's take two values, and so this is the header and these are the values inside in that column, Pune and Mumbai. So let me click on save. So here if you observe, we have given the value as city. Okay, just to remind that we have used that value as city, and that how we are going to use this data which is present in this data table into our drop down. So basically this data what we have kept here would be like used as a source to that drop down. That is what we are going to see. So in this data table I will just give the property ID maybe dt values, and here maybe I can write the dt values as label. Okay, this can be anything. I'm just giving some random name, so it has some name, right? So it has some name, so it is what I'm giving the values. And here in the multi-select drop down, here in the data reference key, we can select the source from where we want to show that value. So here I can give dt values as the source of this drop down, and here we can write the label. Okay, I mean item template. So let me just give here some this name what we have given as a header, so, and show you how it works. So if I click on this and refresh this, so just see how what we are doing, and then I will explain you how that is working. So here if you see, we have added that, and here if you see that values which are coming from that particular data table are visible in this drop down. So how they are visible? So two steps we have done here. First is like deciding the source. So we have decided the source as gt values, and the next is of which column we want to show all the values. So here we have specified span, item, and all these things were already predefined. Only thing that we have changed is this item dot, and we have written here a city because we have written here the city as the header name. So let's suppose if I want to change that, I just wanted to explain you that this is how, I mean, if whatever the header name we put, so those columns values are displayed here. So let me just add a new column here. Okay, so here we have the option to add the new column. So here let me take some values as sports maybe. So let me take the header name as sports, and here again I will write that value as cricket and football. Okay, so now as we have written there a sports as a new header or new column, let's suppose I want to get those values, okay, in that drop down, all the sports column or a sports header column drop down values. So I can write here as sports, and here I will save and close, save, and once I refresh this, now you will see that all the values from that sports column are visible in this drop down. So see, this is how we are using that. So this is how we can use the multi-select drop down. So I'll just quickly show you this also, like read only view, how it works. So if I select this one, so this is pretty self-explanatory. So when I select the value as read only, so it will not allow us to do any action, like we are not able to select anything. So basically these things we use where we want to fill the values, we want to pre-populate the values as soon as we load the page. So let's suppose we are landing on the page and we want the values to be pre-filled. So those values might be coming from the API, or maybe those are the values which are like stored in Unqork. So if you want to pre-populate the values but you don't want the user to have the action on it, so then we can use the read-only view. So this is how we will do. So read-only view is like we are not able to see the drop-down, we can just see key and value. And the next is disable user input. So with this, what happens is the view is still like a drop-down view, but we are not able to see select any value. So that is the difference between read-only and the disable user input. So here I am trying to click, but it is not getting selected. So that's the difference between that read-only and disable user input. Component, sorry, text field where it says set drop down menu height. So what happens here, we can set how many values we want to display. So let's suppose so as we know, like in the data values table, we have put 2 rows in that sports header. So let it refresh. Yeah, so here if you see, so now currently we are displaying all the values from this sports column, right? So here we have 2 rows, cricket and football. So if you don't put any value, let it close. Okay, so if we don't set any values in that set drop down menu height, if we keep it blank, so all the records which are present in that would be displayed. So now we are getting all the 2 records, right, cricket and football. But if I limit here, so if I write something, let me put 1, so what happens, it will only show the first one first one value from that particular data source. So now if I refresh this, okay, it is, I'm trying to refresh, so sometimes it takes time because this is a training environment. Okay, so finally it loaded. Okay, so here if you see, even though we are having the values cricket and football, but as we have written there as one, we can only see the first values. So this is something where, let's suppose we are getting all the values from API like 1000, 5000, whatever. But if you want, we don't want to show all the values, you want to limit that values, right, which should be shown in the drop down. So there we can use this feature, which is to restrict how many number of values we are going to show in this drop down. So yeah, in real, maybe this is not that frequently used in real-time projects, but yeah, just wanted to update you on this feature as well, so you should be aware like this is something we have. Okay, then I think we are done with the multi-select drop down, and there are a lot of things we can play around with. So here in this we have a documentation also. So if you click on this, it will open up the documentation page. So I would like suggest you, whenever if you are having any query, or maybe if you want to execute any particular use case but you are stuck in that, then this is what you can keep handy. Like you can just keep the documentation handy, so you will get more details on the other things as well, like how to do, or I mean, basically what we have covered all the things. But apart from that, if any query is there, then this is always helpful. Documentation is always a better source of truth to refer, so you can go through that and see how these things are there and how many different features we can use. So here in the multi-select drop-down component, we can see all the explanation of each and every section that we have seen. So yeah, for detailed thing you can go to that, but whatever I have told, that is enough to get started with using the multi-select drop-down. So yeah, I think we are done with the multi-select drop-down. In the next video we'll see the other components from that primary section. Thank you guys.